I remember going to like soccer practice at like 5, 6 years old. So from 6 years old to 18, like that's my identity. That's everything. It's my dream. And at 18, ripped away, and you're like, that's it. I hate throwing the word depression around because it's not, but like you're literally, it's so low. Like I'm a failure. And then on top of that, to have like the knee surgery. So it was like quite a long process there of just like reflection and trying to decide. And then as I got closer to being back from my knee, and I started to be like, it's not done.
Welcome to the Calgary Sessions. This is episode number 138. I'm your host, Jeff Humphreys. Before I get into it, if you like this one, please share it. I feel it'll be a decent one, at least.
At least.
I'd appreciate it. Today's guest, I've had the pleasure of hanging out with this dude a couple of times. Jody did the intro, which was really cool. And the first time we met at the Garrison, which is like my second office, right away I was like, man, this guy is vibrating in the world at a different pace. So when you finally said yes coming on, I was like, well, this will be a cool experience for me. So please name and who you are. What do you want to go back to?
Yeah, there's so many things there. 138 episodes is pretty sick. Like that's a pretty cool feat. So congratulations and honor to be here. Yeah, again, like the vibration in the world, like I don't know if I'm a spiritual guy or whatever, any of that stuff, but it is cool to meet with people who are also vibrating like that and working at speeds. And so very cool to meet you. And I think, hopefully friendship and some business stuff. But anyway, my name's Charlie Trafford. I'm a professional soccer player with Cavalry FC. I spent over a decade playing in Europe and with the Canadian national team, but born and raised in Calgary and recently moved back and now still professional soccer player, but turned part farmer, entrepreneur, I don't know what.
All the hats.
Grinder. I'm a dreamer and I'm a competitor. I don't know. I'm just having time in my life, so having fun. It's
and that, like when you say that, you're like having the time of your life. When we met at the Garrison, I was like, you were like so fucking excited. You were just like, it was probably because you're, it's like back to back to back to back. It's like, but just like that energy, like for me to be around it is like very infectious. That's why it's fun,
Yeah.
There's a bunch of reasons it's fun to hang out, but like being around you, I'm just like, fuck, I'm moving way too slow. So I got to get my ass in gear. So it's like, it's interesting, when you meet people, how you can kind of pick up on that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if I've started to hear that, but like I take pride in that. I love to be infectious and try to share that if I can make other people better, if I can inspire, if I can do anything like that. But I just have that kind of natural energy, I guess. I love to do stuff, whatever it is, if compete in this or play games or anything like that. Like I just like to do. So I'm very, ADD or whatever. I'm just operate 100 miles an hour and stuff. So it is, like you said, it's so fun to connect with people who are on that. And with how busy I am right now, you start to carve out less and less time for that stuff. Yeah. So you feel you need to make it worthwhile when you do it and have to be a little bit more picky on who you do it with, I guess. And so it's when you come across people like you that you want to make time for, it's really fun. And again, I have my group of friends, my circle, my wife, my family that I keep tight and operate at. And beyond that, like I'm running at 100 miles an hour. So if other people are also running with you at 100 miles an hour, it's fun to just, oh shit, like, this is sweet. So it's cool. It's a lot of fun right now, and it's fun to be in Calgary right now. So
and I'm catching you at a very interesting time as you got like all these hats on the go. Yeah, being a pro athlete is one thing, but obviously running these businesses is no joke, obviously, and you're like picking it up on the fly and like really pushing it. So yeah, man, I'm pumped to just like get the background on you because our relationship right now is just kind of like from a point and then forward. So I'm excited to hear the background. So walk this thing back as far as you want to go. So where you grew up, how you grew up, your parents, your family, school, sports. We'll kind of weave our way to where you are today and all the madness that you're up to. So take it back.
How far back? I laugh about this one moment in my life because I talk about a lot just because of this. But I went to a French school growing up, And every year, Halloween, we got to, you dress up, you come to school and you get to walk through the gymnasium with all the other classes. And grade 3, grade 4, grade 5, went dressed as a soccer player every single year. Grade 5, my mom was like, maybe it's time we start thinking new costumes and stuff. And I'm so stubborn. And so that was it. So I knew, like, I laugh at that moment. Like, I knew, like, that's what I wanted to do. I set my mind to it, and I was like, no matter what, that was gonna be an outcome. I had a lot of other stuff, and I just kept dreaming my dream bigger and bigger. But I had this, like, I wanted to do that, which it was a crazy, like, there's tons of athletes out of Calgary. There's tons of unbelievable entrepreneurs and stuff like that. Soccer was such like at that time, like, not a realistic or like, it shouldn't have even, like, I don't even know how, like, the fact that it came across my, like, plate even was pretty cool. So,
so you're born in Calgary?
Born in Calgary, born and raised. Yeah. Both my grandparents are from Europe. My dad's side from the UK, and my mom's side Polish, Romanian. And so, I just remember that was like, I have a lot of, like, inspiration on how I did it, but, like, literally from young, I was obsessed with sports in general, and like just anything I could play from, like, 2 years old. Me and my dad used to just do everything together in sports, which is pretty cool. One of my, like, huge inspirations obviously is that, but I guess my mom always jokes that the person who actually got me into it is my grandma, and we'd go over there, she put a ball at my foot and used to just, I don't know, a little bit more in her culture than, like, my parents. Even, like, there's no soccer in my parents' side of things, both, like, super, like, sport family, and thought, like, how important sport is and everything, and development and everything, and pushing that. But soccer was not at the forefront of that. And my grandma, we used to go over there, and I had soccer and stuff on Saturdays. And so there's only one channel you could watch soccer on when I was growing up. And she used to VHS record the 2 games, because they would start at 6 a.m. and she would record them. And then we'd go over to my grandma's house at like 10 a.m., 10:30. The second game would have just finished. VHS, and on it just like a sticker with like with the written what game it was, and we'd go to my cabin or whatever, and I would, like, religiously watch these games, like study the Man U games. Like, I have like like a collection of VHS Premier League games, and I laugh, like, just like
study the games.
Study the
games. You were a youngster, right?
Like from 8, 9, 10, and like I just, like, I could do that with most sports, like, or activities even. Like, if I could just sit there and, like, I was like a very visual learner, and so it was I could just sit and watch and do that. And so I had that, like, with soccer, and just go to my cabin. We had a TV that was like this big with the VHS built to the TV. And we'd just go there with, like, my friends, my brother, and we would just watch games and games, and then go out and play and try to, like, recreate stuff. And so
what were you trying to deconstruct back then? Like, player movements, or were you actually, like, looking at, like, how they were setting up, like a 4-3, like, how were you, like, or all of it? Right
down to that. I think, and even, like, through my whole career, I always could, like, see that stuff. And I don't know if it's from that. And that was such a thing I found that Canadians were so far behind on, is, like, a lot of, like, if you break the game down into, like, technical ability, athletic ability, and tactical, a lot of, like, the Canadian players all could fit in athletically, like, no questions asked, would go over and could run and could do that. Technically was like 50-50. And then, like, tactically, the kids over there, you grow up watching professional game every weekend or twice a week, and you just, like, you see the game, you breathe the game. And here we're, like, 6 months of the year we play indoors, which is, like, a different sport. It's basically playing, like, hockey, I guess, or futsal, right? So it's a different sport altogether. And then you play 5-6 months outside, and you never watch it, and you finish soccer practice, you go to hockey or whatever, you go to another sport. So I always felt we were behind on that. And so I was, like, took pride in this, like, understanding and, like, being able to read game, and maybe not even, like, tactical of, like, setting up formation, but like, I could just, like, knew what was going to happen. I guess, I don't know if, and
what, like, it's fascinating to hear, right? At a young age, when it, like, clicks. And did you know, like, when you were, you're dressing up, you're going to high school, you're at that age, this idea of, like, I'm doing this? Do you say it to anybody, or you just think it?
I had, like, so from that age, from, like, 3 till 13, I said it a lot. And I believed it. And I was like my older brother, another one of my big like heroes, I guess. It's always nice. Like I laugh about like I think Matthew McConaughey talks about this of like chasing himself in 5 years as like you need this like almost whatever, something to chase and to strive to catch to. And like I had a brother who was 2 years older. And so it was pretty cool to like, I just wanted to like everything to be, I wanted to go parties with him. I wanted to play on his soccer team. I wanted to play on sports with him. I wanted to compete with him and be able to do that. And so I was always playing soccer up 2 years. My dad just put us in the same team, and from like 6,
it's easier for
save a bit of time. So from like 6, probably we played on the same team till like 11, 12-ish. And so like that, like because I was playing up 2 years, like I wouldn't say I was like dominant, and people were like, oh, like this is the next thing. No one, I don't ever remember anyone like people. I don't know, like I stood out and I made all the big teams, and I did, but I don't like there was never hype around me. Let's put it that way. I was good.
Capable.
Yeah. And I could play 2 years up. So I didn't like stand out necessarily that. People, when they would find out I'm like 2 years younger, they'd be like, oh, that's pretty like cool. But I guess, again, I don't remember being like, oh shit, this is the kid who's going to get out of here or anything. But up until like 12, 13, I was like, I'm good. And 13, I captained the provincial like Alberta team. And then it went straight downhill after that. Everyone hit puberty and I didn't. And all of a sudden, like U14, I didn't even make the provincial team. And all of a sudden, like started to do that where like everyone was bigger, faster than me. And like teams were getting picked on that. And I still played at the top level, the whatever, U14, Division 1, 15, whatever. But I all of a sudden went from like, I'm the best player to, oh shit, like, so I had to like almost rethink how I played, because all of a sudden now I was like, I'm way smaller than everyone. Now I have to go back again to that drawing board of like, if I can't compete in the athletic category, I better be the best in the tactical and the technical category for sure. And so, and so I did that. And
what was your approach when you figure that out? Like to even like figure it out at a young age, right? That's kind of an interesting skill set to have. What was your move? Like, what was your move to hone those two? Like hours in the backyard, just doing like footwork, like by yourself, like all these like solo missions to kind of get it.
Solo missions, and I had like a pretty sweet, again, my brother and group of friends. I lived across from the Sandy Beach Dog Park there on 14th Street, and we had mini soccer set up there. Like we laugh about like the 10,000 hours. Like we hit that at an early age. Like we were. Like we have videos of us like shoveling snow off the field to play mini soccer. And like we had these mini nets, like they look like hockey nets. And we'd tie rope around the outside of the field, corner flags that we set. We'd bring a mower out there and mow the dog park. And we were all out. And that. But
like before dinner, after dinner,
weekends. My mom, we'd play like 4 hours. My mom would come out, be like, yo, you have soccer practice. I'd get picked up, go to practice, come back, right back out to that. And
who was part of those games? Like, was there a neighborhood crew that was around?
We had a neighborhood crew, and then there was like these invites. Like you had to earn your way into that, and you'd get invited. And if like you didn't pull your weight in mini soccer, like we'd go out there with like $4 in change, and we'd be like betting on these games and stuff. Like for like who we had to go to the corner store and get Gatorades after. Like it was like we went all out. Like we'd come out there and like water the field and cut the grass so it was wet and slick, and like those game tapes we studied, we were like trying to recreate that. It was the best thing ever. So, but we did a ton of that. So I was like, I genuinely like that was I talk about all the time of like that's how I made it. Of like genuinely the 10,000 hours we were like out there and like competing and winning and trying to and do that against like your friends, and like would like end friendships for like weeks. And then like at like 12 years old, it was the funniest thing ever.
Yeah, but it's no joke, right? Like it was 10,000 hours, all of it. Like you can't. Yeah, like that's where you.
Yeah, you have to. And again, this is why the Brazilian kids who play on like street soccer for years and years and years and stuff. And obviously we don't have that. So this was the closest thing we could get to a little more privileged mini soccer. My dad bought us the nets for my 10th birthday, I think. Yeah. And it just became this like
go across the street.
Yeah.
It's funny you say the Brazil kids, right? Because they kind of grow up in that environment, whether it's weather, access, it's like the national thing. Yeah. For me, growing up, it was hockey, right? Yeah. So I would go do my 10,000 hours, like
look
more traditional, like Canadian kind of thing, right? Yeah. Versus There's no way I would have never guessed that there was like a crew of you guys causing havoc at Sandy Beach.
Oh, that story's there. So that was the best thing ever. So yeah, back to, I don't know what I recognized it for sure of this like needing to almost like adapt my game.
Yeah.
And then a little bit of that, like put in hours and like, again, the juggling. I was out in the field with my dad working on like juggling and being able to do this like for hours and hours and hours. Like it was cool with my dad because it was like, there was never this like, you're going to go pro. Like you need, like, there's never that. It was like, I had to like self-drive it, but he would be there like every step of the way and just like out there. Like if you're going to put the work in, there's no quitting. There's like, let's go. If you're going to commit to something, put like, so kind of grew up on that mentality and everything we did. So it's pretty fun. Like I get made fun of still today, like in the soccer team. They're like, you're over 30. And like, I'm like, we play like something, a juggling game or a soccer tennis. And like, if I'm there, I'm like,
you're gonna win.
I'm going to win. And I'm like, and that's like, I get, we'll talk about as we go, but that's like that mentality side was something like that resilience and being able to, it's like, it's fun within like a soccer group or like, again, professional athletes that are all like to make it to that level. They all had to be the one with like, that mentality and that winning and competitive side, and to be in there and being like recognized in that group of like, oh shit, that guy's the
there's another level
to it. It's like it's always like I take pride in, because again I've played with a lot of guys who are far better players than me and more talented than me and whatever. But
do you think you picked that up? Like, did your dad ever say those words to you, or was it kind of a like, you know, just watch and learn and kind of like how did you think those lessons kind of clicked?
I don't remember it like maybe him like specifically like doing that, but that was like the message for sure. It was like this, I don't care what you do, but if you do it, you better do it at 100%. And if you commit to something, you better go all in and see it through. Like, it doesn't mean you have to become the best. It doesn't mean you have to, whatever it is, but you better like do that. And so I remember like you'd sign up for badminton and I'm like, fuck badminton today, you know, but it'd be like, you signed up, like we're going to badminton, you finished this like season of badminton. I'm like, so we like did that. And then, yeah, so it was like definitely a message around the house. Like both my parents were like strong on that and the way they acted and operated. So it was like that message translated like visually as well. And then I had to do it to like survive in the soccer. So like from that 13, when everyone like shot away from me, like I literally was getting cut from the provincial team 14, 15, 16 and like
for years.
Like, yeah. And then, yeah, like, and again, I was like solid. Like I was like still, again, was there. And I was still like one of the, like, I was always one of the better players, I guess. But I was like, I went from, again, like I said, being like standout to you're like in the team. And where, again, I thought, and like a few guys would start to get like sniffs to the few tiny opportunities there were in Canada or like a U17 national team or stuff. Like, I don't think the national team even knew my name, you know? So it was like frustrating, but like.
How did you wrestle with that? Like at a young age, you know, like you're young, but you're confident. Yeah. You know, you know, kind of where you are in the hit list just based on like teams and how you perform. Like, do you wrestle with it? For sure. And soccer was a funny one, different because in all the North American sports, a lot of the athletes, like when they were coming into like leagues and stuff outside of like the top ones would come through college or whatever. And so like when they were becoming like superstars, they were like 22, 23, 24. Soccer, when you're watching the soccer in Europe, there's like the Wayne Rooney and stuff, like like there's no middle step. There's no college. There's no that. Like in the soccer world, it was like youth to pro. So I was like, oh, if only I had this, like, I knew I was going to be a late developer. It was like in the family. I was like, I'm, oh, no way. Yeah, like super. I knew it. Like, so like. You're just waiting every morning. Yeah, every morning checking. I'm like, come on. I'm like, nope. I got like legit, like, so I went through puberty like almost 17. Wow. Yeah. So I was like, and so. Like grade 12-ish. Yeah. And, oh yeah. And I grew 30 centimeters in a year. So I shot up, like I grew a foot, and I went from the smallest kid in the class or on the team to the tallest kid in the team. And
so then again, I knew like I had a feeling that would come. My dad was like 6'2", and so I was like, I'm gonna grow. And then I was like worried. I'm like, once I grow, I'm like, now it's gonna take me still time to get used to that
flipper.
Like I was lanky and like it was a disaster. Really, it was a disaster. So yeah, so
but still,
so
like
I played
passionate?
with it for sure. Like yeah, and I was like, so in my head, I was like, it was hard because I was like, at 16 to 18, I'm like, I'm like real. I'm confident. I'm realistic though, and I'm like, I'm not going pro. Like, and so then it's hard. I'm like, if only I can survive long enough, I'm like, I have a chance. I know I have a chance. But then it like adds that barrier of difficulty because it's like now I'm gonna be ready. Like I'll be ready, but I'm gonna be 20, and those guys, the European teams, are comparing me at 20 to their 15, 16-year-olds. And they're like, why would we take a foreign player who's 20 years old when we're trying to sell 16-year-olds? You know? So that was like, what I played with more was like, I know I can do it. I'm like, I have to survive. So that was where like this resilience, and I'm like, whatever the path is, and like, whatever, like, I was big on that of like, everyone's on their own path. I'm like, stop looking at what like this kid is signing at 16. I'm like, that's not me. I'm like, that's not possible for me. Like, just keep going, keep honing this craft and whatever. And like, there's a chance that it can come.
Where do you think to think like that? You know, like the resilience, the patience, the understanding that, you know, your trajectory is different than the norm. What do you do?
It sucks. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, right. It's not easy. Even if you have that mentality, you're still like, what the fuck am I like this? Like, I'm seeing people, I'm like, I'm better than these players. Like, if only these guys would like if any of these coaches were visionaries and they would know that I'm like, I'm going to grow and I'm going to like, that's not how the world works. Right. So it's like, it wasn't the case. And so no matter how much I was like, again, I don't know where I developed it. Again, I had a very like a team around me. It was not like, again, it's not like it was a team built just to like help Charlie succeed, but the people I had around me that were like between my parents, my group of friends, my brother, who were like pushing me and part of that circle of this of just like, it gave me that confidence and stuff. But at the same time, like you're getting cut from teams at 16 and I'm just like,
that's a hard age.
Hard age, right? You're just like, and it was a pretty crazy jump because 16, not making the team. 17, we won nationals as like an underaged youth team. So like the best youth team in the country, and got a contract with the Vancouver Whitecaps. So it was like a pretty fast, like, so then all of a sudden I like got the belief back of like, see, you just have to hold on. Like, fuck with those guys, like getting cut from the Alberta team. Those guys are idiots. Like I knew it, like it's just going to be part of my story and like this, but it still sucks. And it's hard. And
you can say those things to yourself, like, hey, like trust it. Like,
trust the process. Do this.
Like all the words, right? But when you're actually living it day to day.
And like you need little bits of like something to back it, you know, like you need wins, you need this. And sometimes you don't get those for a long time. And so you need, I'm like a big, like, proponent, I don't know the right words, but of like self-belief and fighting and being out of this resilience. And you have to be able to do it yourself, but you also like, you need this team around and like people and stuff like that. But like I said, from this walking down the aisle in this stupid Halloween soccer costume, I like knew it was going to happen and I was not going to let like something like stop it, I think. So
there it goes.
There it goes. Like I've told enough people at the young age that I was going to do this. Like, I don't want a story of like, oh yeah, the teachers told me I was not going to do it. And like, oh, these rappers are like, that teacher didn't say that to you, but okay. But yeah, like I told enough people and so I was like stubborn enough to go and like not quit. And so that like, that's my big like message almost always is like this resilience. You need that in anything you do in life. You better like see stuff through.
Do you like other like your crew around you? Was there anybody else that was like brash enough or confident enough or driven enough to say like I'm going to be a pro soccer player? Were you kind of a rare thing, like a rare at a young age to have this like this is what I'm doing?
I think
it's
so.
Rare, right? Like there's not, and for in any sport to go pro, the percentage is like 0.0 whatever the one, right? So to actually say it, do it. To say it's interesting though at a young age.
I'm not sure. Like we always like we were out there playing mini soccer.
Yeah, I'm sure you were.
And I don't know. I think we all thought like that's the dream, right? I'm not sure how many said it like meaningfully or whatever, but we always out there, you're pretending to be these professional players and stuff. So yeah, I don't know, but
it'd be interesting to like, I don't know how many people were on that roster back then, but to like ask them, be like, what did you think? Like, were you like, what were you chasing? And sometimes I bet you they're chasing their, you know, the best person in the group, you know, and you're chasing pro, they might be chasing you. Like, it's probably interesting where people set their sights. Yeah,
for sure. You said, I'm sure you had it at the hockey, you know, you're out at the rink, the local rink, and you're just like, but that's what like it is. You like, you check the ice and you're like, that's the best guy here. Like now that's what I want to be.
That's it.
And if you do that, now you obviously like you look bigger. And if you keep that in business and anything you do, right, that's the way, because there's bigger fish out there. And it's sometimes that, and again, it's like, I've seen guys who are like, they're the big fish in this, like the small pond, you know, and they go, and then they're like, okay, I'm the best here, I'm going to go here. And they get there. And all of a sudden you're not the big fish. And like, there's the mentality side of things that I'm like, I try to, like, it's cool to see the game growing in Canada and everyone's like, oh yeah, I'm going to go to Europe. And I'm like, I hope you do. But there's big fish over there and you're alone. And so you better be ready. But it's, so it's funny to see. Yeah.
So you go to the Whitecaps.
Disaster.
Oh, is that, so how old are you then?
17.
So how does school fit into this when you're chasing this, you know, when you're a youngster, signing with them? How does it work? Like, how does school work as you're chasing this pro thing? And why was it a disaster?
Schools, again, it was like strong value in the house. So like, if you didn't do well in school, sports would get cut or other stuff would get cut. So school was always like a big piece, and it was always, again, maybe that's where the business side comes and stuff like this. Like, that was always part of my plan. And it was, again, there's lots of these motivational speeches and stuff, but it was never like a backup plan, because I knew I was going to go pro. There was no like second question to that. So doing school, it was not like school is distracting from that or school is this. It was like, you better have like your plan A just better be big, like super big, and you better really achieve it all, I guess. So school, like, again, like I said, I always did well in school. Like I don't say school is like easy, but like I could do school and like have my full commitment on the sport. But I always like really liked school, and like I'm big, like I love learning, and I love like I've never stopped doing that throughout my whole career, like and into business now. So I'm like, I just think I have the time, and I have like, why would you not want to get better at stuff and knowledge and stuff? So school is always important. Soccer was the dream, and so it was like a higher calling than school, I guess. But school is always important. But so I got asked to join like the Whitecaps residency, so it was like the pro academy, basically.
Big thing, right? Big deal.
Big, for that at that time, that was like there was only 3 professional teams in all of Canada, like. So there's, I don't know, at 17-year-olds, there's, I don't know, 18 kids on the team. And so there's like, you're within the best like 40 kids of the country, I guess, at that time. So it was like a huge thing for sure. And like, again, the mentality, I'm like, I overcame that first step of things, and now you're back to being the big fish in small pond. And so now you take this step out into going back. You go into the bigger pond against now all these other kids, and it's competitive. You move away from home for the first time and do this. So I got invited to do that, and my mom immediately just said, nope. like you're going to finish school first. You're like a year away from finishing school, and I was doing like IB program classes and stuff like that at Western. So they were like, of course you're not going. And I actually didn't know the principal like all that well at the time at Western. Like, she knew I was big soccer and this. There's a couple thousand kids in the school. So like we knew each other, but not that well. Yeah. And she heard of this. She phoned my mom like out of nothing and was like, you have to let him go. I'll find a way to help him graduate through Western or whatever he wants to do, but you have to let him go.
Weird.
Yeah. Like super like out of like, yeah. Yeah. And I've actually still like remained friends with her.
I hope so.
You know, and her kid, her son is a soccer player. And
amazing.
I actually invited him up to Scotland when I was playing there, and got him to train with like the academy there and stuff like that, and which is pretty cool. So yeah, like out of nothing.
What'd your mom say?
My mom was like, what
the principal's calling?
Calling, like saying you have to go. And she was like, so then we had like, then I was like, when my mom rejected it immediately, I just accepted that. Like I trusted. I was like, that's the reality of it. I was like, okay, that's another hurdle in the fucking plans, but I guess we'll finish school and then find another way to do it.
Yeah.
So went out there and I finished like high school while I was doing that.
Was it like a family meeting of like?
Yeah, like legit. So like, okay, is this what you actually want to do? Like, are you committing to this? Like, how are you gonna balance school with this? And anyway, we had to like agree, like, you know, I had to promise this is what I'm gonna do and blah, blah, blah. So did it and moved away like right away. And it was cool. Like I said, it was like unbelievable. Like obviously you felt like I've made it.
Yeah.
Obviously you're not even close, but,
but at the time
you're like, this is the big step. This is the step that like the only big step you could take in the country at the time. So I was like, unless you're going to pack your bags up, which there's the handful of other Canadian guys before, the Owen Hargraves, Nick Ledgerwood even, who just pack up and you go over to Europe and you just try. Like this was the way. So it was like, it was so cool. Got there. Again, you're now back into the bigger pond. You're not a local guy. So they've had guys who've been in the academy since they were like 12 years old who they know. They have this. Again, I had just gone through this growth spurt. So I was like refiguring out my body and trying to like know what's going on. And it was like good. It was like an unbelievable experience. I ended up doing my knee. And I was still not developed enough. So now like I was 17 going on 18 and they're trying to sign guys to the first team. And so very quickly there's the guys, 16-year-olds coming behind you. So either you're ready to sign pro now, which I'm not. So I got released. I just did a year there. Released, which again,
suck.
Suck. And it was like that was almost like, I don't know. I want to say one of the closest, but so I also had to like hurt my knee throughout that. And so I was like playing on this. So when I left there, I ended up having to have a knee surgery as well, which at 18, you're just like, so I had I moved back to Calgary, which this is like you move away and it was like not even as long as you would hope to go. And you have to like come crawling back to Calgary, literally crawling back, and like, feels like the end, like that's the end of the dream. Like now, like that was your chance. You're not good enough to be there. Like that's it. And on top of that, you like pretty much nothing, but you got paid a tiny bit. And so it voided all eligibility, go NCAA. They've like changed the rules a little bit, I think. So they're like, that would not count as like being pro, but it was enough, like literally like hundreds of dollars and enough to avoid that. Like I had spoke before going to that, I started to think maybe college route, at least like in the North American system, like that suited me a lot better. I'm like, it'll give me time to fill out and catch up. And by the time I'm 20 to 22, I'll be like physically ready and maybe have a chance at it. So avoided that. And then basically going to Canadian university is great for education. For soccer, that's the end of the road, really. I don't know if at the time, like, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings if they have, but I'm like, no player has come out of Canadians.
It's not a path.
It's like legitimately not a path. So I was like, I got a knee surgery and dragged out. I was out for like 6 months. So I moved back to Calgary, couldn't even train and do anything or like try to think of stuff. So it just became this like,
it's a tough time.
I got the only job, like one of the only jobs I've ever had. I worked at the Apple store for 6 months, which was like, again, like the coolest job ever. I'm like, if I had to have one job, I'm like, there was like, so I worked there, I just had a knee op. So I was like, literally did nothing. I was like answering phones, but it was like such a cool company and like innovative and sick. So that was pretty cool, like experience and see like the working world and get.
It's funny you say that though, you know, as people that listen to this, right? You know, as a high-end athlete, the work thing it's almost impossible when you're chasing and you operate at that high level, right? So it's funny. You're like, the only job ever
dabble in like it was, what a crazy time.
Did you like the low of like it's done, it's over? Does it last a long time, and what kind of gets you out of that like mind frame?
A long time for sure. Like I said, from 3 years old, watching these games at my grandma, maybe not 3, that's a bit exaggerated, but let's say like, I remember going to like soccer practice at like 5, 6 years old. Like, so from 6 years old to 18, like that's my identity. That's everything. It's my dream. And at 18 ripped away, and you're like, that's it, is pretty crazy. Like, you don't want to, I hate throwing the word depression around because it's not, but like, you're literally like you said, it's so low, like, and you're back to Calgary and you're just like, I'm a failure. Like, this is everything I said I was not going to do. If I went somewhere, I'm not one to like quit or like fail there. So it felt like, yeah, you literally come back and it's just like, yeah, that's it. I'm another, like I've seen enough movies. Fucking, you know, that's it. Like, this is it. I'm one of those. And so, and then on top of that, to have like the knee surgery. So it was like I really felt like I couldn't get going. Like I was like, so it was like quite a long process there of just like reflection and trying to decide like whatever. And then as I got closer to being back from my knee, then I started to be like, it's not done. Like, I'm 20 years, or like I'm like 15 years away from my prime even. Like, let's get serious. Like, so if like, yeah, I think I'm like, let's do this. So I was like, I have to go to Canadian University. Like, I need to get back into like the system and playing and stuff like that. And I had like, I don't even know what they're called in Canada, but like offers everywhere. And I was like a highly anticipated recruit. I don't even like, it's not like a D1 in NCAA where you're just like, you're like a big deal. This was just like
you're NCAA getting flown down for a visit. Yeah, you get the tours. Yeah.
I got flown around. So I did get flown around. Okay. So I did, but yeah, so I think I went to like 4 or 5 schools, got flown out. And like, that's when I started to like, it's again, it's a funny experience because it's not like, you don't feel like a top athlete. You're going to these places, you're training a little bit, and then they're just taking you to parties and trying to like,
meet people.
Yeah. And I was like, not what I was really into at the time. I'm like, I'm soccer focused. I'm like, I'm going to these schools because I'm going to pick one and I'm going to like, because I'm going to act as a professional athlete here and I'm going to bide myself a little bit of time and see what happens. And going out and partying, and I'm just like, this is not fucking serious. So yeah, and I'm choosing. I went to. It was like, I don't want to say it was my like bottom pick in terms of like fun, but it was like this. I went to York out in Toronto. Yep. And it was like they were like one of the top. They were the top soccer school. There was a semi-pro league in Toronto, and I'm like, this was like the closest thing I could get to like it being like, I don't want to say NCAA or whatever, but like being in a professional environment or something like that.
You're
where
around
like,
the action.
Enough.
Yep.
I went there and yeah, like slowly started to fill out, not fully there, but started to fill out. And now you're like bashing gym every day and you're on like serious programs. And I genuinely, it was like, I'm operating as a professional athlete. That was like my thing. I partied a little bit and stuff. And maybe that's part of being a professional athlete. I don't know. Dabbled a little bit, but I was like, focused. Like gym before any classes,
and like diet stuff too. And
diet like stuff. I was seeing like sports psychologists. Like I genuinely was like, I'm investing in myself. I was like, you're not making any money. I'm like, everything I have, I'm like, I'm going to invest as if I'm a professional athlete and do that. Had a good season with the team and played on like the semi-pro team. And after the first season, one of the, basically an agent came to me and was like, oh yeah, I would like you. I have a few connections in Europe. Like, would you think about like doing that? And like immediately I phoned my mom and I said, listen, like,
it's like year 2 or after year 1?
After year 1.
Okay.
Yeah. I was like, all I'm thinking about is soccer. I'm like, I'm going, and I don't know what it's going to be, but I had one tryout set up and it was a 2-day tryout. And so I was like, I'm taking 6 months to a year off school. I'm going, and what happens. And if I don't make it, I promise, like, at least I can live with myself now that I'm like, okay, like I'm closer to feeling like fit and filled out a little bit, like that this is a real chance at it. And if I don't do it, at least I could come home and like, it won't be like the last time I came home was from Vancouver with like literally crawled back, like broken. This is like, I'll go there and I'll come back like proud of myself that I did this journey and that's it. And I went there. This agent had literally one contact of like a friend of a friend. It was not even a real thing, but
got you on a plane.
He got me on a plane, and it was literally a 2-day tryout. Like I had some like university video like this, like the clips were nice, but like it's filmed on like literally like filmed on an iPhone 1. Crazy. But so these guys, again, like I said, I think I was 19.
Yep.
And I'm being compared to their 16-year-olds in Holland, like who are like the Dutch are like renowned for their developing players and technical and tactical abilities and stuff. So they literally 2 days, they were like, yeah, just, okay, let him, like they owed a favor basically. And they're like, yeah, just let him come train for 2 days. So I was with like the reserve mix of like young and reserve kids. And it was just like 2 days where it was like on fire. Like one of those days where you like, everything you did just worked. And like, and they were like, again, and they were like, damn, like, okay, like, yeah, they're like, maybe whatever. So they're like, let's extend it by a few days. And so they're like, let's let him train with the first team. And so I went there 2 more days. That was a joke. Like, just, I don't know what it was. Like, just everything I did worked and this. And so they were like, okay, they extended, they were like, they actually put me into like a hotel now. And like, now it was like, they're like, okay, so you can stay for like 2 weeks, train. And after a week, they said like, well, we're going to sign me. And I was like, what?
How do you, when you're, when you're getting bumped up, right? Yeah. You go for the 2 day thing, you're with the reserves and the youngsters, then you get bumped up to the team. Where are the nerves at?
None, if I'm being honest. I don't know why. It was just like, I've always been good. Like I'm like pretty comfortable in situations. Like, so even there, like, don't get me wrong. I'm like, I operate in a state of high anxiety, basically. Yeah, it's like, I'm like a walking contradiction of like, it's crazy. Like high anxiety and insane like self-confidence and belief in whatever I do. But in the funny zone of that, of overthinking and like that that I'm not good enough and stuff. But I was like, I was pretty like adaptable and stuff. And so I knew I could go in there and I was like comfortable with people. So at least I could mix with the group. And I went in and I was just like, I've waited my whole life for this. And I was like, I'm fucking better than all of you. And I deserve this more than you. I don't know what it was, but it was just like, my friends here always laugh. Like when I started going pro and stuff, and they would phone me and they'd be like, like I'd have a game and, you know, there'd be a guy, a well-known player on their team or this and that. And they'd be like, oh, how was it? I'm like, they're shit. And like, I was just like,
you're young and confident, right?
And it was just like this, like somewhat of arrogance. And it was just like, this is my last chance. Like, what do I have to lose really? Right. Like I'm here for 2 days. If I leave here because I'm like shy and timid and wasn't myself, I'm going to go home again with my tail between my legs and this. So I'm like, what, like legit, like who cares what, like that was I've had that through a lot of my like life, but like caring what other people think a lot and going into situations and wanting these people to like you and being on a team and you want these guys to like you. But I had a period of my career that from like 19 to 23, fuck everybody. Like it was like, that was my thing of like, don't get me wrong, I'm not an asshole and I'm not like, but I just was like, I'm better than you. And I'm like, and if I'm not better than you, I'm definitely mentally stronger than you. And so
what's your edge?
That was my edge. It was like, I was like I said, I was like, I have like a bit of I don't want to say a reputation for that, but people here like believe it. And I'm like, I think it and stuff. So like, I'm very realistic on my abilities and stuff. And I'm like, I'm decent player, but I'm like, I'm mentally, let's go if you want to, like, let's fight in here. I don't want to fight you, but I'm like in here. Let's like, we can go. And that. So I don't know what it was, but I went into it and it was just like, I was vocal and I was like demanding the ball and I was tackling. And I laughed so hard at this though, because like one of the second sessions with like the first team and the Dutch are very technical and like positional. And in Canada, it was the opposite. It was like, you run until your hands are on your knees, and then at least then we know you've put it in. And that's a sign of a winner. There, they don't care if your hands are on your knees. If you lose, you lose. And so I remember like one of my first or second sessions, and I was like, we're doing possession game, and I'm sprinting around, tackle here, flying around, trying to get the ball this. And the coach stopped it and was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I thought it was like, oh, I'm about to get praised here. And he was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm pressing. He was like, stop it. Like, you just move, like let the ball do the running in this. Let this move. You get in a positional, you don't let the ball go past you. And if you have the ball, you move one step this way, one step this way, and you make the ball work. And I was just like, oh shit. So then I'm like, okay, you got to learn. Now we learn the Dutch system. But I've like, and again, I don't know if it's my like connection with people, but so I stayed with a family when I went on this tryout for those first like 3-4 days before they like.
Random family?
They were like connected to the club. They were just like, it was a small town, and so it was very interconnected. And the mom and the family did a lot of like volunteering for the club, and so I stayed with them. And anyway, so then after a week of this tryout, they offered me this contract based on what I had told them, that I have a Polish passport, so I had an EU passport. And so the rule in Holland is you can sign foreign players, but any foreign players you sign have to earn over €500,000 a year. And so it's basically a system that if you are signing foreign players, they better be like top-notch players, so that it's bringing the level up in the country. And if not, you should be playing Dutch players, and we're developing Dutch players. So you could do it but once the EU thing, so you could sign EU players under that. And anyone outside of the EU had to earn that. And so I told them I had a Polish passport, which I technically didn't. I had one.
Details.
I'm like, I had one when I was really young. My mom's side of the family's from Poland, so I had got one when I was, I forget, like 8 or 9, and then it expired. So I was like, I can get it. But since then, Poland had joined the EU, and a Polish passport was all of a sudden like, now there was a lot more rules to it. Like before, when I got it, like you could get them in the back of like a cereal box. Like they were being given out. And then, so I went to get it, and like, they were like, you don't have that. Like you need to do it's like a 6-month application now. And I was like, oh, here we go. This is going to be the way I blow this. And the woman the family I was staying with, she's got me in the car. We drove to the Hague and to the to the Polish embassy, and she like marched in there. She had like, again, nothing to like, no affiliation like contractually with the club. And she walked in there and she was like, you have to get him a passport right now. Like we need this. It's for the football team here. And obviously soccer is big there, but like you have to do this. And like, this has to get done now. And so we like fought with them, and finally like we sat in the embassy office and wrote like a letter, and they like took it in the bag, and I don't know where it went and who they spoke to, and they came out like a few hours later. We didn't leave the embassy with this lady, and they came out and they're like, okay, we're going to give you a 1-year emergency passport. And through that year, you have to do the full application and go through this and whatever. And if you don't do it, this passport will be done in a year and whatever. And so I ended up signing a deal, and like beyond grateful to the lady, like insane. And like we again, happen, right? Yeah. So again, stayed like super close with the family. She passed away, the mom, which was like devastating, but stayed like super close with the family and stuff like that, which was pretty cool. So like have a few of these people that like have played impacts, and I'm like not that motivated like by money, I think. And so I'm like, before all my games, I like take a minute and I think about like, I do this like fast forward timeline of like, literally I think about like mini soccer and all my people that were in that, and my family and this, and these few people that have played like big impact through my career. And like, that's what motivates me.
So once you're like a pro, what do you do? Do you like, do you rest and just like know that you're playing at this level, or is this like internal drive to see how far you can go? Like what do you do?
It was a funny one, because it was like, I felt like the Vancouver thing was my first pro contract, even though it was technically like,
you got paid.
Not, but yeah. And so when I got this one, and like when I signed the Vancouver one, it was almost that. It was like, I fucking made it. And I took the foot off the gas maybe a little bit, because it was like, I've done it. And so when I went here, I was like, I'm not doing that again. Like I've learned, and I was like, that's not happening again. So it was like, now we like turn up, and this could be short. This could be a year. This could, like, I had a 1-year contract. I'm like, let's not like mess around and stuff. And
fully committed.
fully committed. Like
lifestyle,
yeah,
which is like, you know how you live, how you take care of yourself, training, like it's just all in.
Yeah.
Like robotic kind of.
To a degree, I'm like, again, I laugh. I'm this like walking contradiction of stuff. And so, but yeah, like fully dialed in.
Yeah.
I hated like the robotic side of stuff and like that. I was like, not me. And I knew those like, you knew those players, those like fundamentally just like fundamentally okay players and they had no flair and no whatever. But then like the super flair players were they had no.
Yeah, they're kind of loose.
And I'm like, so again, I'm like, I love that. That's what I like. But I also knew I was not good enough to be like, I couldn't let that. So somewhere in the middle of that where I was like this like a technical player, but I knew I had to be fundamentally like very good if I wanted a chance. So I took it serious, like gym, what I ate, mental coaches, whatever it was.
Film study, like were you aggressive?
Yeah, like huge. Like I could, because I was such a visual learner, I could almost replay a full game in my head. I didn't even need to watch the game. But and I couldn't, like, again, the overthinking and stuff of like that, like I could go to bed after a game, I go to bed and I just can rewatch like basically the whole game, especially mistakes. I ate like I could do that. But I love, like, I just like was obsessed with sport and activity, like I said. So it didn't feel like a chore to like rewatch game, and like I just like liked it. It was I would like love to watch this. I could go watch anything, and so this was just I'm watching more soccer, watching more sport. So, but yeah, I was that visual learning is like that was my best way for me to learn. So I knew I'm like, I don't need to go here and listen to this guy speak about tactics. I'm like, I need to see this and watch it and watch it. So yeah, a lot of video, a lot of stuff like that for sure. And just tried to like live that lifestyle. And again, I've had like a few of these, like it's a constant, and
it's hard though, right?
Hard. Yeah. And then, so there, I must have been, it was probably 6 months in, and I was finally starting, like I said, I was being compared to their 16-year-olds. So I'm like, not only do I have to be better than the 16, 17, 18-year-olds, or like, not that I have to be as good as them, like I better be better than them, or else there's like genuinely no reason for them to play me. I'm like, and I understood the business side of things, and I was not stupid. I was like, why would you, that's how it is. And so you have this like chip on your shoulder, and you're like a little bit behind the 8 ball. I'm like, I have a lot of climbing to do before I could do this. Put my head down and went, and I like grew my, like every week was like, I'm better than him. I'm better than you now. That's like, I was a lot in like the reserve side of things. So I was still like, okay, I need to climb this table, right? This is back to the skating rink. And I'm like, I better pick you off one by one in here and do this. And it just created 6 months, I think. And I was finally like, I was now like on the cusp of, like, I was training with the first team only now. And I'd play games with the reserve team. And now I was like, this is like, here we go. And I remember the first team coach. Now I was starting to like get called in the office and talking, and like fuck, here we go. And he came to watch one of the reserve games. 5 minutes in, I got an assist, and I was like, here we go. 5 minutes later, broke my leg. Like broke my leg in the game, just like, and I got like stretchered off and like straight into an ambulance. And I just remember like texted my mom, got an assist, broke my leg. She wrote, "You're got to be kidding me." I wrote, no, I got an assist. That's all. And then I was on some sort of gas and like this, but yeah, and then
that one is that one the same kind of down as coming home from Vancouver?
Yeah, especially not quite, because I was like, oh, I come back from this, but it was another one where I was like,
right there.
And it's like, okay, now we start again. And it was like, my mentality, I was just like, okay, if that's what we do. But like, again, you have like 8 weeks of like, not like, again, you have probably like 2-3 weeks of it being like down here. And then you're like, okay, we got to get motivated again. And so now you're trying to do stuff with a massive cast on, and like, you're back in the gym, you're back watching stuff. You're trying to like get back involved and kind of get going again.
Which is hard, is like, as an athlete, like me, when you can't move, when you can't be active, which is like your thing, which probably helps your brain to manage like your two different like sides of you. So when you can't do your thing that manages you, it's a tough spot.
Yeah. And obviously being in the business now and stuff, like I'm like so grateful for having sports still. And like, it's been my whole life. And, but like, yeah, when you stop doing exercise, like I'm preached to everybody, like you need to do exercise for your sanity, for your mental health, for this, how you feel, for like life is, I don't know how you live without that really. Like, I don't care if you're just walking or whatever it is, but you have to do that. So yeah, for sure it goes to like, you go to some dark places for sure. And again, it's now, Vancouver was like moving away from home, but I'm like an hour away from home. And I had family there and it was in Canada. It didn't feel like the craziest thing. Now you're over there, like, not that Holland's like that foreign of a thing, but it's still like, you don't speak the language. You're all alone. So I'm like 19, I'm like in my own apartment. And yeah, like, again, you don't want to throw like big depression words around, but you're just like, what is going on? Like, and they're hard. Like, and again, I don't want to say I sympathize, but like, you know why people quit. Like I've seen like so many good players like being in these situations and like you go. Like it's so hard. It's awful. You're away from your family. You're doing this. You're even the people in the team, like they're your colleagues, but that's like who you're competing against. So if you're out, that means they're up a spot. So they don't give a shit. So it's not that supportive of an environment really is like the professional sports. So you go to some, you go to some dark places and you do some weird stuff. And so I was pretty quick at like coming out of that. I was like, okay, 2-3 weeks, like feel sorry for myself and this and like, but we go again. But it was like hard timing because it was, I don't know when, it must have been like, I could look at, I have a photo of it so I can tell you, but whatever. So there was only like 2-3 months left in the season and my contract. So now you've broken your leg right before the end of a contract. So I came back from that, trying to get fit again, trying to say like, I deserve another contract. Now you're 20 years old and it's like, now you're almost like on the cusp of like, you shouldn't be in the reserve team. You should either be in the first team, but I've not had like gotten in there fully. So it was a weird thing. And I spoke with them and like, I had the opportunity to like extend my deal and stuff, but I got offered to go to Finland. My cousin, who played on Cavalry as well with me here, which is pretty cool. But
super cool.
Yeah, he had a stint in Finland and he messaged me out of nowhere and was like, yo, these guys are desperate for a center midfielder. What do you think going there? Like, it's the first team level is lower than in Holland, but it's like you're in the top league of a country. The team plays in Europa League, like, so there's good exposure. You come in here and you'll play and whatnot. So packed up the bags again and went on to the next adventure and went on a run with it.
And
so,
that one you were there for?
That one, again, a funny one. I saw, the Scandinavian season and the European season are on opposite schedules. Okay. So I left Holland in like August and signed in Finland in the end of August. But that was the end of the season in Europe, but that's halfway through already the season in Finland. So there was only 10 games left in the season. So it was a bit of a weird one. And they were pushing, so the top 3 teams in the league qualified for Europa League. So you get to play in Europe is a big thing. So they invested pretty heavily in the August transfer window to bring in a whole bunch of players to try to make a push to get into Europa League. So they signed like 6 or 7 guys, played I don't know how many games, 10 games there. And we ended up missing Europe by 1 point and they just cleared house. So it was a weird one. So I played 10 games there and then basically like they were like, yeah, everyone's out. So, and then all of a sudden I was like back, like it was such a short stint that I was like, and it's a weird one because it ends in November 1st, let's say. And you cannot sign a new contract in Europe now until January when the window opens, which is halfway through their season. So now you're in like a weird place of like, and by the time January comes, they know you've not played games for the last 2 months. So if you come into January halfway through their season, you're not getting a preseason or anything. And there's only 5 months left in their season. And so like it became this weird like back and forth. And so I like, that was probably one of the harder times because it was like, I played pretty well, but I left there and like most of my contacts were kind of more Europe. I didn't know what to do in Scandinavia. My cousin had only knew this team. So it was like, what do I do now? And so I didn't sign a new deal till January and it was like November, December. I stayed out in Europe and never didn't come home. And I was like, if I go home without a contract, like there's a chance I never come back. Basically, like go home, get comfortable.
Yeah.
Like you have to keep training alone. Like so that was one of the harder moments, I think. And it was like I was playing like first team soccer now, first team football, like the men's team, and like to get your almost like your second contract from that is like they always laugh like that's the hardest one to get. And so I was like okay, that's what people say the hardest. Let's make sure I better get that. And so yeah, I stayed in Europe because like, if I go home, I'm like, and they want me to come and train with the team or do something, I'm like, it's a long flight, and then they might be like, oh, you're like, forget about it. Yeah. So I stayed out there, and like it was crazy. Like that was the 2 months of just no friends, no anything, just alone, like going to the field alone and just training. And like I stayed with like family friends in France and just trained alone for 2 months straight.
Like the conversations you must have had in your head.
Oh, like that's, like, imagine, you're like borderline psychotic at that point. Like you're
all the scenarios, all the like, do this, do that, go home, quit. Like, are you good enough? Like all of it.
And I remember days like at the field and you're just like running laps or running suicides and you just lay down and you're like, is this worth it? Is like question, like you said, you go to those places of like, you question everything. Like I'm away from my family. I'm like, what is like that? And then I ended up signing another team in Finland. There's a weird story, but signed in January and basically I got on a super well with the coach, and I was like, this is finally a coach that like, I believe in the project that's happening here. Yeah. He believes in me. This is like legit. Signed in January, did 4 months. Finland's an insane preseason, so you don't start till April the season. And a week before the season started, the team fired the coach.
Your guy.
My guy. That I'm like, I came here for all this. I was like, oh my God. And then they brought in a new coach, like literally they fired him and brought the next coach in like 3 days later. And he was the under 21 national team coach in Finland. And so like half our team or like a lot of our young players were all guys who had been in the national team. So this coach knew them and they were like bringing them in to like promote youth and all this. So all of a sudden I went to like, again, I was just like, you're the foreign guy who's not being developed to be in the Finnish national team or whatever it is. And so I played every game, but I played like out of position and like just, and I was, what is going on? Played 5 games there. And the coach who got fired got a job in another team in the league and phoned me literally the day he got the job and said, yo, we're going to buy you and get you out. And I was like, this is a guy that believes in me.
Thank you.
So I packed up. So literally I played 5 games for that. So I played like 10 games for the first team, 5 games for the second team, and left on like the last day of the transfer window at the beginning of the season and went up there and that was like the longest stint I did in Finland. I played a year and a half at the team. And I was like finally at like, that was when I was kind of like, I don't want to say I made it, but I was just like, finally where I think I'm like, have caught up physically. Yeah. I'm 20, I was like 22, 23. Yeah. I was like, I'm actually in like a good place. Finally, I'm like, I'm athletically, like I compete with anybody. And so now I'm like, now I can, let's turn this up and like go for it. And like, I have a longer period with a team. This coach believes in me, which every athlete will tell you like that is, I say at professional level, 50% is your mentality. You're expected to be athletic. You're expected to be technical enough to make it there. And you need like that bit of luck or whatever, someone who believes in you. So this coach, like in soccer, like the more people you add on the field, the more like variables come with it. Like basketball or whatever, I guess like you can stand out as like a solo guy and carry a team a little bit more, I think. And I don't know, and you add more and just the more and more variables that come. And so even if you're the best player, if the team's not winning all the time with you in it, like they rotate it. If there's injuries, there's positions, tactics, there's so many different formations. There's like whatever. But I just coached to just like believe. And for whatever reason, I don't say built the team around me, but was like the way we played, like everything was to suit exactly like, or it suited how I played. And so it was like it was so fun.
You were there.
It was so fun.
Yeah.
Like it was the easiest the game has ever been. Like it was just like you were like the right piece in the right puzzle, and it just like fit. You didn't need to force anything. Like I've played in like 5 different countries, and every country has its different styles of play and you have to adapt to. And that was like a moment of like, it was so easy. And it was like when it's like life, when you're in the right moment at the right time and it's just like, oh shit, this is easy. It was like, that was so fun. And yeah, that was.
So did that one end on like a good, there's no broken body parts, there's nothing?
No, that one ended like great properly. Story. Like won player of the year. And like.
The way it should.
The way it should. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm like, this is like life. And it was always like I lived in the moment. It was sick. I was like, I had so much fun there. Yeah. It was like great. I was always thinking like bigger things. I mean, this is not going to get me in the Canadian national team. This is not going to, this is not the English Premier League of where I want to be. Mm-hmm. And so I was like pushing for that all the time, but like lived in the moment and it was so cool and like fun. And then, won player of the year in the team that year. And opened up a bunch of doors. And that was like, when I thought, I was like this is going to be it.
I love how you've had these like reoccurring, like, this is it.
Which now you learn that that's just life, right?
Sure.
That's just you on this kind of roller coaster. And you try to learn to plateau it as much as you can. Mm-hmm. But I'm a pretty emotional guy. So I like the highs are good and the lows suck, but you have to ride them. Mm-hmm. But got there and ended up signing a really good deal into Poland, the top league in Poland, which was, again, it was like from Finland, you didn't make a jump from Finland to the Premier League, but you made that, Poland was that like middle zone that was like, you go there, like that league is signing players to the German Bundesliga all the time to like, that was like a good market to be in. And I didn't know the agent who brought me there well, but like once you get to there, like in Europe and you're playing well and doing this, like agents are messaging you all the time and trying to get stuff. And anyway, this guy messaged me and brought a pretty like incredible deal to me and like a long contract, my longest ever contract. And so all of a sudden you're like this is like how it should be in professional sports, whatever. So yeah, left there with like amazing, like handshake, like did exactly like it was so fun, amazing team. I'm still friends with a bunch of the guys who played in that team, which is rare. Like I said, it's so competitive in the thing that there's guys like most of the teams I've played on like never spoken again to anyone on the team. Like people don't get that from like a university team and you like make like a brotherhood. Professional sport team, you have like two friends and like you get along because you're with them every day. So you have to get along and you have to play well together. But like
friends.
Small little group because it's hard and like there's and it's so like, again, it's almost like different than a lot of sports is how like international it is. And so you're guys from Africa, from South America, from Europe, from Asia within the teams, and everyone's like philosophy and what they're playing for is different. And that's wild. To, like, there's guys who are sending paychecks home every month to the family, and if they don't do that, like, so they're fighting like for their family, like so. And you're on their team, but you're in their way of that, and it can get like nasty. Like it's pretty wild. Like there's
goes hot.
If your leg gets broken in training, like unlucky. Right?
Just stay out of my way.
So that was crazy, but signed again this really unreal contract in Poland. And I have like Polish heritage. My grandpa's in Poland. So it was a pretty like kind of like special one to go to. But that was going into like a foreign, like Holland, Finland, obviously their language is not English, but everybody there speaks perfect English. Poland, the coach didn't speak one word of English. So now it's like, to make a relationship with people that, again, that got me a long way, was gone all of a sudden. Like now it's like this different thing. And it was like, even more so there, it was like the contrast. That was where like in Finland, even in Holland, like the athletes were not on like an insanely different salaries than like people. So it didn't like operate like that differently. It was not that same like contrast. In Poland, it was crazy. Like the athletes were in like the top 1% for sure, and like the rest you're like fighting. It was still a bit like that. And there's lots of like Ukrainians and Eastern Europe, and so again people sending paychecks home and doing this. And so it was the first like 6 weeks, 2 months there, no one spoke to me. Sorry, I don't speak English. And like all the coaching, everything done in Polish. And so it'd be like, I had no clue what's going on. Like no clue. Like you do a drill and like you're consistently like fucking up the drill because you try to do a drill with like, there's just cones around and like you just try to do it with no explanation basically. And you'd like turn and be like, what are we doing? And they'd be like, sorry, don't speak English. And then after 2 months, you found out they all could get by in English well enough. And you're just like, that's how it was. Crazy.
Dirty.
But I saw, and that like, again, Holland, competitive, but like very like again, good people and stuff like that. Finland, like the most honest place on earth, potentially. And like just everyone's super well educated. Like it's just like socialist system. Like that was like the closest feel to like, again, like a university team where you had like friends in the team. And it was like helping each other succeed and people inviting you over for family dinners and whatever. Poland was like an eye-opening. As like a naive like Canadian kid, it was like, of course, you just keep running until your hands are on your knees and you're tired, and that's how you like. There, it was just like seeing like bribes and seeing like like stuff like that and like crazy stuff. We just like win a game and other teams were paying you to do stuff and like duffel bags just getting dropped in the locker room, cash. And like getting distributed by the older guys and stuff like that at like 22, 23 and seeing that and eye-opening. Yeah. Like, sure.
Yeah, that's a different life.
And then that was the first, I had one of the coaches there basically. Like, so I went there with this like, so right as I got that move, I got my first call from the Canadian national team, which was.
Is that the first time that Canada, like you were on their radar?
Yeah. And it was like, most people go into like the U18, U16, U18, and they're like early, and then you get into like the men's national team. And I went straight in the men's national team, which is like something I'm like proud of for sure. Like I was one of the, not that I had like a huge impact in Canadian sport, soccer, or whatever, but it was like that was a big like chip on the shoulder always of like I was nowhere near it, and I was like that. Always annoyed me because I was like, if they were visionaries, they would have me on the radar. I'm gonna be there, I promise. And so that was pretty like that was one of like the coolest moments of my career, I think, for sure. My whole family flew down and like watched me play, and I started in my like first ever camp.
Where was it? Where'd you?
In the States, but we played against Ghana, who at the time were like a top 10, 15 team in the world, and played like all their, that was the first time, like, and then your friends are phoning you like, oh, it's like playing this guy. I'm like, they're shit. But like so cool. Like that was like hearing like the Canadian national anthem,
the
jersey and like
all of it
with all of it. My dad was like very like not emotional my whole childhood, like never saw like we worked hard together and we grinded together and stuff, and he was at that game like in the national anthem crying and like
broken.
It was pretty cool.
Was that like top one of the top
moments for sure?
Yeah.
So cool. Special. And so again, it went like I'm in the Canadian national team. As soon as you play, you're an international player. You're like now you're on like radars everywhere, for sure. Like even the Canadian team, you're on radars. Like now people treat you differently for sure, and your value goes whatever. And then sign this very good contract in Poland. The cost of living in Poland also very low. So all of a sudden I'm like, that was like the first time you feel like a professional athlete, which was like, it was cool. It was like, it was sweet. And then, like I said, if you let those highs sneak up on you, it comes crashing down. And so like this agent was in my ear, like, you're in the Canadian national team, you're in here. I got there and had like an unbelievable preseason with the team. And I was like, yep. And he was like, so Germany, like the teams in Germany are going to be watching like 6 months. You play well here for 6 months, you'll be like in one of the best 5 leagues in the world. And I was like, yeah, that's where I've been heading. And then I had a coach there who basically said, like, if you pay me half your salary, him and the agent, like, they knew each other, they represented each other. Said, if you pay us half your salary every month, you'll play every game.
Come on, man.
And again, as like a naive kid, you're like, is this like, do you do it? Or is this a test? And if you do it, now it's this. Or do you say no and like hope that it is a test? Or what? And if they're asking you, are they asking everybody? Or what's like all of it, and like, again, all alone in a country, don't speak the language. who do you ask about that? Like, you don't ask, again, these other teammates who are competitive with you. Like, you're not going to go around asking them. And if one of them are paying him, like, they're not going to admit it. Yeah. So it became this like weird thing. I said no, and I never played 1 minute for the team. And I had like a 4-year contract. And
no way.
Just like, and I was like, again, the Canadian mentality of like, no, I'm going to work really hard and I'll show them, and they have to play me.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, literally not a minute. Not 1 minute.
Wild.
And so that was like one of the darkest moments for sure. Because like, I went through injury, I went through this, I went through like, but I was like, oh, I'll make it. I'll find solutions. I'm a problem solver. That was all of a sudden, it was just like, this is like out of your control now. This is like, I don't know how, like, you feel cheated. Like, I'm like from 3 years old, training and looking and this and that. And then you find out that it's like seeing behind the curtain and just like Wizard of Oz or whatever. And you're just like, so it's all fake. Like, and like, I'm not playing. So now, like, what are you, and they would take you out, and like, if you miss 2-3 practices, or if you miss 1 practice, they give you a warning. If you miss a second practice, they'll rip up your contract. You know, at least like, and so I was like, again, chip on my shoulder, like, I'm going to get paid every cent out of this team, because like, no way I'm not taking every, I said, fuck soccer. I hate, like, I literally started to like hate it. But I was like, but I'm going to take every penny I get here. And like, you would train with like the reserve team, you train with like 16-year-olds, they'd be like, you better not miss 1 training, or else you like, and you'd be out like 6 a.m. runs in the forest, and you just had to do so you couldn't miss stuff, but you just did it. And like, it became this like, it was horrible. It became like a war against them, and like whatever. But I was like, I'm never quitting. I'm like, I'll be here for 4 years until you pay me out, because I'll be here. Like, but it ruined me, and it ruined soccer for me for a long time, and like ruined me. Like, that was, like I said, up. That's why I said, when I like from 19 to 23ish, I like was like, I'm the best. Like, even though I wasn't, but I was like, I'm gonna compete with everyone, and I don't care where you came from. I don't care whatever. Like, I deserve to be on the field with all of you. And then after that, like, my confidence, like, really, the next 5 years probably was never the same. And yeah, it was weird. That was like a hardest moment for sure, of like alone there. And again, you don't want to come home after this, like crawl back. I don't know what, like, it was just such a weird scenario of like, who do I talk to? Who do I like do anything with? Like made it like, I know, like I said, all alone there. It's like, I'd lay in bed and just like, that was like, I was broken for sure. That was like a horrible thing. And so, yeah, I did that for like 1.5 years, because out of like frustration. And finally they agreed to like pay me out. So I left, and like, soccer was just not the same for a long time, and just slowly regrowing it, I guess. And it became just a job, and like a 9-to-5 that you just didn't care about almost. And I'd go to my job, come home, and there was no more watching game tape. There was no more like care. It was like, let's just like, I'll get paid, and that was it. So, which is not me at all. So it made it like, so then it like we talk about that, when you're like vibrating with the right thing, and you're doing what you feel you should be doing in life, like it's easy and flows right. That was like clunky and just like,
it's not you.
Not me, and it was so hard.
What was the thing that kind of turned it back around? Was it a specific thing, or was it like a slow kind of build to this thing where you're like, okay,
I went back to Finland. Around that same time there, I met my wife, or I got back together with my wife. Well, I got back together with an ex, and anyway, who's now my wife, and it's amazing. And so we had like that, like, it was a funny one, because it was like, all of a sudden there was like, for like a long time, it was soccer and nothing else of like, and that's how I operated. I was like, that's how I'm going to make it and do this. And after that, it was kind of, I started to let a lot of other stuff in, and which is a hard, like, if you want to keep going to the top, like, that's hard. And so I think that was definitely a catalyst in like going the other way, but made like my life better. I think like it was fun to like chase it, but I'm not like, you talk about like these Michael Jordans and stuff, like they're not normal in the head.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if I want to go down that route really. So I don't know what it was, but like, yeah, my partner. And so she started like moving around with me. I went back to Finland after that and signed like literally a 2-month contract in the Arctic Circle in the middle of summer. And it was like, genuinely like I had so much fun. And I like fell back in love with soccer, I think, of like went there and just a short stint there and just like back to this like feeling of like the group was unreal. We were winning games. I was like back to felt like I'm the best player here. Like this is like, I don't know what. And I just got this like a bit of life back for sure. And I signed a short-term deal there because I'd been negotiating a deal in Scotland. And that was kind of like, again, from being in the national team and all these things, like a little bit of like, okay, if you go there, like you have a chance at, let's like rebuild this and climb and do that. So that kind of got on the table and started to love it again and do that. I don't think it ever is, to be fair, back in Calgary now, I'm like almost back to that. It's a different like feeling for sure, but like just like loving it and being for like a while, like back to that, like obsessed through it. But it became like just the coolest like adventure and journey and growth and whatever. And through those last like 4 years, I guess, I was like starting to grow, like work on this business side of things that I got like super into and that. So you can't go to the top if you're doing that, I don't think. Like you can push it as hard as you can and do it. And you almost operate at like as an unsustainable like level on both sides. But like I said, I've always had this like vision of, it's not like me starting business and stuff was never like backup plan or anything like that. It was like, I knew like for a long time, I was like, when I find what the right business is, like I'm going to do that. Any chance I had to do little bits of business throughout my career, buying properties, Airbnb-ing and stuff I could do while I was playing, I would do it and and do that. So yeah, just started, love the game. I'm like, love soccer so much. And nowadays I'm like back really like in love with it, which is fun. Like,
especially in like your hometown.
My hometown. So that's cool. So I did this like journey, did Scotland for 5 years, got to play in the Premier League in Scotland, which is like such a cool thing. You play against big, like historically like huge teams like Celtic and Rangers, 70,000 person stadiums, like which is
gotta be crazy, right?
and do that. So yeah, it was like, I never got back to like where I wanted to go, I don't think, but I like was like proud of my like journey. And like, so then it got to the point where coming back to Canada, I was like, I'm not coming back here, like crawling back. It's like, let's go back on my own terms and keep building. And it's not over. Like, I'm like, it's fun. Like it's definitely like a cool thing here. And for a long time, it was about me. And like over in Europe, it's so competitive. It's you, and like getting to come back here is now about the team and even bigger than the team, where it's such a new league. So you're actually like, you're building legacy and you're building like a foundation that this could be the league that if it stays, like that grows and grows and changes the game in Canada and does that. And so now you're like, and I love stuff like that. That's like another thing that's like inspiring and what to do. It's not doing it for money or doing it for whatever. It's like, that's a pretty cool thing to be a part of. Anything that's rockets going in like the right direction, and you're like, let's get on this and let's help build this and be a part of it. And it's such a cool team here with Cavalry. Like I said, I got to play with my cousin, the coach I had, who I won nationals with when I was 16, and help promote, like catapult me onto the pro game. He's the coach of the team and the GM. So we get to like,
what's his name again?
Tommy Wheeldon Jr.
Yeah. I knew it started with a W. I thought I was going to say like Wheeler or something. Yeah.
He is a Wheeler. But like he's building such a cool thing. He's always been like a big visionary of like that, and helped grew the game here and partner with Spruce Meadows. Like it's such a unique thing there, and a very cool group and ownership team behind the team. And soccer's growing at an insane rate here, and we have a very good team. Won the league last year, and so like yeah, getting to come home and like my whole group of friends that I grew up with, played mini soccer with, come to like all the games, season ticket holders, and my family and stuff like that. So it's definitely like I've had to put like change my mentality on it, but it's like it's a fun thing to be a part of, and it doesn't mean I don't like care about it or anything less. It's like it's just a different avenue or like a different way to do it, and so it's fun. It's so like. It's really cool to see it grow and the kids and the next generation. And I'm like, when I grew up, like this just didn't exist. Like there was not that. Now you walk around the town and there's kids in soccer jerseys, there's kids in Cavalry jerseys and stuff like that. And you're like, damn, and you get like recognized in town and you're just like, that's nuts for soccer here. Amazing. Like it's not like how it was when I was young. So it's like, it's a sweet thing to see, and that opportunity and how it's growing and get to be a part of that. And then on the business side, you get to like, it excites me because I'm like, there's opportunity and there's shit going on. So it's fun.
That's why I want to sneak this in before you jet, you know, your business stuff, you know, family business, you and your sis. How you're moving is very interesting to me because it's like quick, it's calculated. So explain what it is and how you're feeling about like being in this kind of like entrepreneurial space, and if it's just like if it feels right.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's like,
dude, you know, the first time we met, we barely talked soccer.
Yeah, it was only business.
It was only business, and you were just fucking like, you were like moving. So
that's how we are still doing. So it's hard to
explain what it is. So
my sister and I launched a company called Trafford Farms. Again, like you said, family owned, but we are a urban farming company. So we do all indoor growing and that. And we, like I said, we've been working on it. So Trafford Farms grows gourmet food mushrooms, edible, no magic mushrooms, just food. And we sell into a lot of the big restaurants across Calgary, through to Banff and Edmonton, from like Chateau Lake Louise down through Calgary and the River Cafes, Shokinins, Bridget Bars, and then launched into the retail side, into all 21 co-ops, Italian Center, Amaranth Food, launched this week into Blush Lane, Sunterra, and the Farmers Market.
Congrats, dude.
So it's been like a cool. We launched in the company. Well, we started growing food in November 2023. So it's 8 months. 8 months, and
no way. Yeah. Oh, I thought this was like a little bit longer.
8 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then in that again between soccer, Trafford Farms, we thought we're not busy enough. Let's double down. And so I'll take 2 steps back before I say that, but it sounds like an overnight success, but we've been working on this project for 5 years. We just didn't start growing until here. And so I don't care how important
you say that, right?
Yeah, right. Like it sounds cool that, you started in November overnight. And you did this like this. Like we've laid like foundation. The business vision has changed like so many times. Like the vision hasn't changed actually. That's a lie. And like so we basically we want to make high quality food accessible year round and not have to ship it at all. So we're trying to grow locally and create this affordable and like high quality stuff, make it attainable for people here. And it came from this bit of frustration. My sister living in Vancouver, I was in Europe, we'd come home for Christmas, and the quality of produce here in like the winter and stuff is like no taste, like tomatoes have no taste. And so it kind of was this frustration. And then out of frustration, like I said, I'm just curious and like want to learn and want to figure stuff out. And so I'd go back to Europe, soccer done at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And what do? So you end up on YouTube, you down some crazy rabbit holes, and you look at the food industry and food and the supply chains, and you realize like it's so broken and there's some crazy stuff going on. We fly herbs in from Israel in the wintertime to get them here and sell them in grocery stores. Like the quality of food, the nutrient levels in the food is diminishing every year, and there's soil depletion where it's growing. There's climate problems everywhere. There's droughts, fires, whatever it is. And so the supply chains get broken, the quality of food. And so again, in a country like Canada where like it's insane that you don't have access to the highest end food all the time, know what you're eating, know where it's coming from. So it was this frustration around that. And so we built this mission statement of, how can we grow food here locally every single day of the year, whether it's plus 30 or minus 40, and do that. And then we just didn't know what we would grow all the time. And we didn't know what technology we would use, whatever. But if the projects fell into that mission statement, it could make that better or easier, whether it's power and electricity and things like that, whether it's the food and the technology to do that, whether it's different types of food. And as long as projects met that, we were like, we have the energy and we run with stuff and do that. And so we worked on a couple of different things. And anyway, the mushrooms launched in November this 2023. And like we said, blew up. It's been so cool to see. Like, they're unbelievable. They're like high quality. They're nutrient dense. They're growing, and that we get them to, like, we harvest them and get them to the restaurants on the same day or the next day. There's like we grow a bunch of like lion's mane and stuff that has brain function and actual like health benefits to doing it. And now you don't have to take it as a supplement. You can buy it fresh and do all these things. So it's been like the craziest thing ever. But we always like, whatever, we just want to continue to grow whatever that mission is. And so we came across a company called Deepwater Farms, who are, I don't want to say iconic, but a staple in Calgary for the last 5-6 years. They grow indoor vertical farm, grow leafy greens, herbs, salads, stuff like that. And so we came across them and we decided to buy them and acquire that to try to, again, and it fit into the mission statement. So the founder of that, we've kept him on as a partner and as our CEO, and runs kind of the deep water side with us, and then are driving the Trafford farms forward. And we're just, like I said, having the time of our life. Like, you have the wrong person on here really to talk to. My sister's like incredible at this, so we'll get her on. I will get her here. But yeah, convinced her to quit KPMG and move back to Calgary from Vancouver and commit to this. And yeah, and we have so much fun. Like, it's so cool to work with her. We've been so close for our whole lives, and this was something that like brought us together. I was in Europe and she's in Vancouver, on 9-hour time zones apart, and would just sit on the phone and talk about business and food and how we could do this and the indoor farming specifically. But we found it was like so tied to like most of the world problems, whether it's climate change or health and nutrition, accessibility to food, to transport, to growing, to biology, to GMO stuff, whatever it is. Like, there's ways you can find ways to tie it into this. And so we were like, this is the coolest project to be a part of, because now like we can launch nuclear power cogen systems because we can justify doing it for our food thing. And so we're just, like I said, we have crazy energy, and we like,
might be an understatement, dude.
Yeah. But it's quite the balancing act right now with the soccer and trying to keep my sister happy and know that we're doing that. But we do some early mornings. I'm living this like dual life. Like, it's so funny of go to the farm in the mornings. I'm up at like 5:30, go to the farm, do farming until 8:39, rush to be a professional athlete. And like, it's like the biggest like, you're like when we launched in November especially, and like we were just getting going, now we have a decent team behind us. But when we started, and we did everything for the business. So we were harvesting mushrooms, like you plant, like not planting mushroom, but whatever. So you got the harvesting process going, packaging it, delivering it, scrubbing floors in the farm, like, and we'd be there till 11 p.m. at night, and it's like not glamorous at all. You're farming, and then go to professional athlete life, and which you think is glamorous. It's obviously not either, but you think it is. So it's like this contradicting worlds of doing this double life of that. But I go to farm in the morning, go to soccer till 2 o'clock, go back to the farm and do the business stuff and try to grow that, and until whatever hour it takes, and then try to rush home and keep the wife happy as much as you can. But it's like a side that I'm like, balance. Like, you need balance in life, and you need to do that. And I've like promised myself that when you start like this work-life balance and finding time for that and the people you care about, and that I'm not the best at it yet, but I'm very conscious of it and working towards it. And so like when I say it, life's perfect, like I feel like I'm in the right spot. Doesn't mean it's like easy or like like I said, I just tore my calf 3 weeks ago and it's out for the last 3 weeks. The farm is always chaos. I have a wife at home who doesn't have a visa here yet for the last 2 years. So it doesn't mean it doesn't come with its struggles, but like when you feel like you're on the right path and doing that, like you stop thinking like, I'll be happy when this happens. I'll be happy once I make it. You're just like, I'm on this journey and it's like so much fun. I'm home here. I'm with my family, my parents, my brother, the 3 kids. my same group of friends I had since I was 6 years old, 6 to 12. And yeah, back in love with soccer, which is so cool. And like, we're building something really cool there. And again, I'm still competing at the top level in the country, which is a lot of fun. And then on this mission of, wanting to do food and make it accessible to people. And it feels like it's, what's the right word? I don't want to say honorable, but it feels like you're, like this has purpose and you're doing that. And it's so fun. Like, it's a cool product as well. Like, our mushrooms are crazy colors and stuff. You take them to chefs, and chefs are pulling out phones and taking pictures of them. So it feels like that's really cool, but also knowing you're like providing high quality stuff and making it accessible to people is like a really cool thing. And yeah, you got us at a fun time right now. We're in this like crazy growth stage with both the companies, and I'm hoping by the time this airs, we'll have a couple big projects we're working on right now to hopefully expand and keep going. So feels like, whether it is or not, it feels like you said, I'm vibrating at a cool rate right now, and loving it and loving the people around my circle and getting to come across, again, the business takes me across people like you, which is very, very cool, and do that. So having a blast.
Yeah, dude, it's definitely, the tide of like sport, athletics and business, there's such a relationship there,
Yes. Let's chat that for 2 minutes. Because going into business, like I said, I lived in my head of anxiety almost and stuff. And you come into business with crazy imposter syndrome.
Who am I?
Right? Who am I? Right? My identity is an athlete. I've played soccer my whole life. That's it. I kick a ball around. What right could I possibly have starting a business, trying to be successful, being on this mission to try to help feed people? Like, you're like, come on, man. Like, and if it's an industry, the indoor farming side of which is like not incredible right now. There's been it's so early. It's such a new thing. And so there's been a lot of problems with it. And I'm like, what chance do I have if there's these business people with incredible degrees and incredible resumes are like struggling with it? Like, come on, me and my sister, like, she's great. What am I doing, right?
I'm kicking balls.
Yeah, I'm kicking balls like half my day. But first of all, you realize super fast, like, which is, I'm so grateful for like my family and pushing the sport, and they must have known it or had an idea on it, but the values you get from team sport, individual sport, but that you get from that translates so well to life and business, right? This dedication, teamwork, hard work, competitiveness, this desire to want to be the best at something, and perfectionism and whatever it might be. Like, you realize very quickly how you gain a lot of soft skills, at least from the sport. You need to, it doesn't mean like you can just walk into business and do it, but at least with the mentality of problem solving and wanting to get better and learning, and that's how you do it, right? With hard work and that. So it makes the business side like, oh, let's just take this as another challenge. This is obstacles. Like, let's learn this. Let's figure this out. And then the, like, what is the right? But like the stress, the ability to deal with stress for sure. Like right now, people are like, it's crazy that you're not like that. I'm just like, this is what I'm doing. Like, what do you, like, this is the normal. Like, I was like in Poland fighting for my life, really, right? Like, this is, what am I doing? There's guys there that were sending paychecks home and trying to genuinely survive. Like, I'm out here growing food and playing soccer. What's stressful? So it's like cool to have that, and like 100% like the sport. I think I preach it to everybody, like getting close to wanting to have kids and stuff soon. And I'm just like, you have to be like, you don't have to go into sport being like, I want to become a professional athlete. That's not the mentality you have to have. But I think the value in it is insane. And again, I wish I had musical ability, but I'm sure you can get stuff from that, and there's skills from that, and the dedication and stuff like that. But like from personal experience, like the sports side, like it's one of the best learning things you can possibly do in life. And then we talked about just staying fit and being there, how good that is for your mental side and everything you do. So I'm a big pusher and believer in sport and what it should do. And so I hope, again, it's so cool to see the infrastructure. It's a bit slow in Canada. It's a bit frustrating that we, again, for a country that are innovators and the amazing people we have here, that we aren't, like how fast the states just move when they want to do stuff. Like we need to get a bit of that going, but it is cool to see the infrastructure growing and that coming and opportunity and stuff like that. So it's, yeah.
Yeah. I think the other, what's been sneaking into some of these conversations with athletes is the amount of L's you put on the board as an athlete.
Yeah.
And then when you get into business, you know, you're kind of, because, you know, when you put an L up, you get cut, you lose a game, you know how to react, right? You can either lie there and like just wilt or get up and fight another day. So I feel like that connection to business is also...
like invaluable, right? And like very quickly, like again, there's a lot of people who talk about like, oh, I don't, like if you lose, you're a loser. But like you very quickly as an athlete, you realize like you never lose. You just continue. These are just little obstacles. If you continue learning, you continue pushing, you continue getting up, like there's no losing. You just... When you quit, that's when you lose. Like when you just go. So yeah, getting cut, getting this, and move to business, people saying no to you, people not investing, people this going badly. These are just it's just things.
Yeah, just moments.
So just keep going.
Thanks for doing this, dude. I know you keep things pretty close, so I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, it's been losing my voice, and like there's a couple of things in there I've never maybe never spoken about, which is sick. Like, there's so much we could talk about.
Dude,
like, I want to talk about your stuff. I want to talk about your building.
You and I can go all over the place at other times. I end the show with one question. When I say Calgary, where's your head go?
Two places. One, a geographical like spot, and this is, I grew up 14A Street, this dog park above, and the mini soccer there. It's like iconic. We have a view, like I can see downtown from there. It overlooks the river. Like that's home, and it's like such a special like piece to me, I think. And I'm like so close with my family, and my dad, my brother, my sister, how much like they motivate and inspire and help me get to where I am. And like my mom getting me to every sport we did and fed and motivated and inspired and pushed in school and everything we did. So that's like a place that when I come home, I'd be in Europe for a year and get to come home to that and just like stand out there looking, that's always a special pot. And then in terms of just Calgary, like when you say it, it's home for me, and it's such a cool place. I've traveled around the whole world and seen places, and Calgary's always one that I like. It was always like, wanted to come back to and do that. I never found a place that I kind of fit better, I think. And Calgary's also this like walking contradiction of -40 with blue skies and, you know, this funny, big little city feel of like, I come back here and like, there's a 1 degree of separation to everybody. And so it's so fun being in business with that of like, you can get connected to anybody, and it's a cool community of that a lot of people in the business world are super open to making introductions and connecting you to places, and that entrepreneurial like feel to it. This like cowboy, but also wealthy, like modern town, like smashed together. So it's like, again, I feel like I have that inside of me, these like walking contradictions almost of stuff. So Calgary is that. It's such again, I grew up in the southwest of Calgary, and like in a great, like amazing location and amazing people and family and stuff. And I played sports with kids from all over the world and different parts of Calgary and stuff. So I've always like loved like multiculturalism here and the food and the and the stuff we have. I know it's not perfect always, and there's stuff that can get better here and accepting and whatever it is, but it's like it's home, and it's such a cool place, and it's a hard-working town, but this big little feel, and yeah, it's growing at a pretty crazy rate right now, and the soccer side and life and the housing and stuff like that. So it's a fun, again, anytime you're a part, like I love it being a part of stuff that's growing, and Calgary feels like it is doing that and stuff. So it takes me there. It's a special place of standing out there, and when I was young, and how much it's grown since then. So it's cool to see it's growing, but it's still the same. Like, I don't know how to say it, but it's home.
Yeah. Thanks again, dude.
Thank you. This is like, yeah, such a cool thing. I know how much success you're having right now, and we need to talk about that. You need to tell the people, but it's like, yeah, like I said, we have cool values. You have unbelievable values and stuff, and the people you bring on here. So it's a special thing that, again, Calgary's so connected and needs this kind of stuff. And there's some very, very, very much cooler people than me out in this thing. So it's very cool to see some of them on there. And again, it's very special for me to get to be on this and with some of the people who've come before. So it's very cool.
Hey man, yeah, you fit in perfectly with all those other people. So don't down talk too much.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, man. So thank you.